Good morning. Welcome to MYStartup Next 2023. Today is the first installment of a series of micro-conferences aimed to be a platform to congregate like-minded individuals, founders, investors, and builders. Once upon a time, at a very young age, I developed a strong passion for books. And one of my favorite children's books is Pinocchio. That is Guillermo del Toro's version of Pinocchio, one of my favorites. Now, Pinocchio is more than just a story about a wooden boy wanting to be a real one. It is a story about hope. It is a story about dreams. It's a story about sacrifice. So one night, the blue fairy came to visit Pinocchio. And Pinocchio said, "I wish to be a real boy." To which the blue fairy said, "But Pinocchio, you are." And then Pinocchio said, "Look at me. I'm made out of wood. I'm inferior. How do I compare with the rest of the children out there?" Then after a short pause, the blue fairy said, "Pinocchio, it is not about what you are made of. It is what's in your heart." Ladies and gentlemen, Pinocchio found a new lesson that day. The blue fairy was talking about conscience and purpose. Purpose. Back in 2021, we launched the Malaysian Startup Ecosystem Roadmap, or SUPER, 2021-2030. In it, we had this grand vision to emerge or to position ourselves as one of the top 20 startup ecosystems in the world by 2030. Also, we have several goals to achieve in the midterm to the long term, one of it being to produce 5,000 quality startups by 2025, to produce 10,000 coders by 2030, and 5 unicorns in the next couple of years. Now, we know that this is not an easy endeavor, it is not an easy feat, because we are currently facing challenges of our own. For instance, first being, we lack the necessary talent. We're losing talent to the big companies and also to other countries. Secondly, we lack the corporate sector participation in the startup ecosystem. We need more corporate entities to pump prime the Malaysian startup ecosystem and beyond. Thirdly, we lack the go-to-market channels for our startups to scale. Our current policies and regulations are not conducive for our startups to thrive. And of course, we lack that platform from ideation to commercialization for our startups. It's tough, we know. And so, as a starting point, we looked at the typical life cycle of a startup from ideation to growth. And through our engagements with various stakeholders, partners, and also founders as well, we believe that if we were to design bespoke programs that would serve our startup founders from ideation to commercialization, we think it will give our founders a fighting chance to thrive. Because we know that based on data, 90% of our startups fail in its first 3 years of operations. And so, we launched the MYStartup initiative. Now, the MYStartup initiative consists of several components. First being an ideation-based track, where we run hackathons. In fact, we ran several national-level hackathons called MyHackathon. It is a platform to allow startups to work closely with government agencies and also ministries to solve real-world problems for the rakyat. And we've experienced significant success. Second component, enrichment programs, where we match mentors with founders. And an internship program where we place interns into startups, because we fully understand that it's super difficult for startups to attract and retain talent. We have launched a pre-accelerator program. We have launched 2 cohorts, in fact, and we're running cohort 3 as we speak, and an accelerator program, which is geared towards more mature startups looking to fundraise. And at the heart of it all is our portal, MYStartup.gov.my, which aims to be the definitive directory for Malaysian startups, investors, service providers, and also government agencies participating in pump priming the startup ecosystem. And so, we head out, right, with this clear goal in mind to produce unicorns. Because, hey, you know, that's the benchmark, no? But then we realized that after the pandemic, the world has changed significantly. Now, consider this. So this was a recent article in Tech in Asia, and it says, Malaysia wants to farm unicorns and it is going to fail. In the same article, it says that we are just focusing on the glitz and glam of this innovation theater and less focusing on developing mid-stage to early-stage startups. Now, guys, I am not agreeing or disagreeing with this article. I'm just saying that it is an opportunity for us to reframe our mindset, our vision, maybe, our strategy, our go-to-market. But then this is just a sentiment. We need to look at data. And so we took a step back and did some research, and we found that according to CB Insights, that the birth of unicorns have decreased or declined by 32% quarter on quarter. The worst, even. So this signals that it is not just a local problem, but a global phenomenon. It's tough. So we dug deeper. We spoke to some of our investor friends. We spoke to Sequoia, we spoke to Vertex, we spoke to RHL, just to understand, right? What seems to go wrong here? And then what we found out is that after the pandemic, VCs are no longer invested in the growth at all cost strategy. They're looking at impact investing. And plus, other macroeconomic factors which is beyond our control. For example, the war in Ukraine, the economic slowdown in China, the fall of SVB, and so on and so forth. Now, the common theme between these 2 points is that we need to focus on developing fundamentals for our early stage and also mid-stage startups. Consider another insight point or information point by 500 Global, Kristen, a dear friend of mine. So she said, and I'm going to paraphrase, that if there's a startup who has this intent of becoming just a unicorn, that will raise a red flag. Because they're essentially looking for startups which have very strong passion, this undying empathy towards their customers, and of course, with an intent and purpose to build something iconic and big, enduring, and lasting, not unicorns. Not me. She said it. So, if you take a step back and if we look at all of these 3 information points or data points, we could conclude that more importantly, we should be focusing on building an ecosystem that drives the development of fundamentals for our startups. However, we feel that it is insufficient to make a dent in this universe. As the Blue Fairies said, we need a purpose, a strong and enduring purpose that goes beyond us. We have a clear vision, yes. We know what we need to achieve in the short term, but what is then our raison d'etre? Now, at MYStartup, our purpose is to build an inclusive and sustainable startup ecosystem. Inclusive and sustainable. Sustainability here means building for the future, but also being cognizant to take care of the welfare of the current generation while also balancing between economic profits, environmental well-being, and also transparency and good governance because that's what we need, right? Okay, so hang on. So, after several conversations with various stakeholders, potential partners, founders, investors, everybody almost under the sun, some of them said, you know, Ash, I think this is good, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to build, but we still feel that all of this is conceptual at best. Very fluffy, very big. Typical lah, government agencies speak like that lah, you know? No, you can laugh, it's okay. You know, you don't have to be uncomfortable. You know, they are right. I agree. But also, I believe that the proof is in the execution. The difference is in the flawless operations and clarity in purpose and clarity in goal with measurable outcomes. So, close to 2 years of our operations, we are starting to see results, outcomes, real, tangible outcomes. For instance, Logistic, a company graduated from our pre-accelerator program, was acquired by an Australian logistics company called ShipIt for 11.3 million USD. And then we have Troopers, a graduate from our accelerator program, which is in the midst of getting acquired by an India-based company for an undisclosed amount. We have Nuon AI, a company or a winner under our My Hackathon program. We have successfully deployed a partnership or a pilot with JKR Sarawak to solve the road issues which are adamant in that state. We have 6 of our startups whom are graduates from our accelerator program who have received 17 angel investments, which is close to 2 million ringgits. And of course, we have an all-women-founded startup called Cult Creative, which was mentioned in the 2023 budget. A strong testament that women founders are as competent, are as capable as their male counterparts. Mereka juga boleh. Also, we have listed close to 3,500 startups on our portal. We have about 500 investors, and also service providers and government agencies. And we have corporate partners as well, as part of the initiative that we've ran. So, what's next? What is next for MYStartup? Remember, our grand vision is to build that inclusive and sustainable startup ecosystem. But what goes beyond that should be discussed. And also, we need to spur collaboration for us to scale better. We know from an ASEAN report that startups play a pivotal role in connecting markets, in co-creating go-to-market channels, which allows the free flow of talent, that allows the free flow of capital, which allows the free flow of innovation. We also know through our conversations with 500 Global that they have approximately 7.3 billion USD of dry powder waiting to deploy by 2023. Last year, it was about 174 billion USD of foreign direct investments into the ASEAN region. But the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, is not that we don't have enough capital. We're flush with capital. Our challenge, though, is to look for and invest in investable startups. Startups with strong fundamentals. So what are these fundamentals? So we spoke to Sequoia, and they said, first is vision. They're looking for startups with a vision, this grand, big, hairy, audacious goal to change the world, to solve real-world problems, to fix inefficiencies in markets. Secondly, they're looking for startups with a strong product proposition that would transmit innovation to their customers, that would solve their real-world problems and pain points that they're facing. Thirdly, performance or matrices. We no longer seek to look at growth matrices because we all know here that growth can be artificially manufactured, but matrices that matter. which gives a solid business model, how do they then are able to create economic profits and co-create value that would benefit all of these markets at large? And last but not least, a powerful pitch, not just to their investors, but to their customers. Because customers are essentially buying into what you believe, your solution, and not your product per se. So having said that, we have also embarked on this journey in looking for potential partners and counterparts, because we know that we can't do this alone. We need to work with smarter people like you guys, right? And our counterparts from other markets. We are fortunate to have representatives from Indonesia, from Philippines, Thailand, and Singapore. They're still on their way. I don't know why, but yeah, they're coming. They're coming for us to join us today. So in a couple of hours, you will hear from them, right, in a panel session on how can we together collaborate and pump prime, not just a local startup economy, but a regional startup economy. That's the goal right there. Now, our end state, our purpose, our goal is to be the epicenter for early stage startups for this region. Starting from maybe becoming a local hero or a jago kampung. Yeah, because we're small. But we aspire to be a regional champion tomorrow. Not just for this country, but for the betterment of the ASEAN market. And so today, ladies and gentlemen, we are announcing 3 things. First, MOU exchanges between our corporate partners. We have AirAsia, Cyberview, Maxis, and also Petronas, hence sending a strong signal to the market that essentially, the corporate sector participation has begun to become more active, and they're believing into investing in this ecosystem. Secondly, we're going to launch a product or a developer proposition called MYStartup Dev. And thirdly, we're going to launch our annual report, our 2022 annual report for MYStartup. In it outlines the milestones and also our achievements of 2022. But essentially, it is an ROI report so that, to give comfort to the rakyat that we are, putting your money to good use with clear ROI. Hope that helps. Now, before I end this monologue, I would like to impress upon you an excerpt from T.S. Eliot's poem. Now, he said, "The only kind of wisdom that one hopes to acquire is the wisdom of humility." And so, I strongly believe for this to work, we need to co-create, collaborate, and capture this value. Because the ecosystem is not owned by MYStartup or by Cradle or any agencies, but we all own this ecosystem together. Although yesterday, MYStartup started out as just a mere initiative, but I strongly believe that tomorrow, MYStartup will become a movement. For Malaysia today, for ASEAN tomorrow. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. I thank you.